Okay, so hello everybody, my name is Bajan, and right now I'm going to present my research paper via the presentation I made. Okay, first of all, what is my research about? My research tries to delve deep into the problem of the absence of a good amount of professional pedagogue in the Kazakhstan, and not only in Kazakhstan but also around the world. We can see that there is a lack of proper teachers and uh, a lot of countries try to solve this problem with different ways. For example, by raising the number of scholarships that pedagogue students acquire, and increasing the payment they receive. And in this study, I'll try to look deeper into this problem and see to what extent does the scholarship status, the years that students are studying in, and their teaching experience, and other similar factors have on their motivation to become pedagogues in the future. Okay, so introduction. What are the aims of this research? There are four main aims of this research. First two are what are the attitudes of the TEFL students with and without state scholarships regarding pedagogy as a future profession. Another aim is to what are the differences and similarities between these two groups of people, and to what extent the results change depending on the year that students are currently studying in. And also there is a secondary aim that I'm trying to look into deeper, like it includes to what extent does teaching experience have effect on it also. Okay, so my literature review includes three different researches done by different people. First one is done by Ghanem and Manas about the relationship between scholarship and student success in art and design case study. So as the name suggests, it's done inside the art college, and its sample consists of 819 students. It's focused mainly on the merit-based and need-based scholarships. So it means that it focuses on the students who receive scholarships because of their needs, because they can't afford it, or because they deserved it through some sort of activities or studying well. It means merit-based. Okay, and they took into account various factors such as race, sex, and backgrounds of students. The theoretical background behind Ghanem and Monas studies was the meta-analysis invented by Robbins, Lawyer, Letavis, Langley, and Carlstrom. And next is the Rubin and Rosers study. It's done mainly among the student athletes, so it's separate from the others. It focuses only on the sport, on the students who participate in a Division IA scholarship, which means that students who participate in professional bowl cups. And their sample consists of 8 institutions, and it includes 593 students athletes. And they wanted to compare the Division IA students with and without athletic scholarships. They also took into account various factors such as race, sex, and backgrounds of students. They looked carefully into the sport type, like what kind of sport is it, individual or team sport, and team type, and GPA of their athletes. And the final statistics, like the result of the conclusions they came up to means that non-scholarship athletes had higher GPAs than students with athletic scholarships. Please note it in your head because it will be referenced in the further. It will be referenced later. Okay, the next study is done by Omeji and Abugu. Their sample consists of 12 institutions located in Enugu State, Nigeria. They use it like a random sampling technique, which among these 12 institutions, they randomly selected 45 participants, and overall they come up with 540 participants overall. They also spotlighted the need of need-based and merit-based scholarship, the same as Ghanem and Manas. And the end result showed that the academic performance of students would increase by about 87% if the financial aid is given to students on a need basis. So, for example, students who can't afford education, if they're given scholarships, their performance increase. Notice that how these two contrast each other, Omeji and Rubin's uh, conclusions. Okay, the methodology. My sample consists of 54 people, and all participants received consent letters to which they agreed. And the survey was taken in a form of a Google Forms. Each of them were sent Google Forms via WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups. And yeah, it was the participants were chosen completely randomly. Okay, then next, let's get to the hypothesis behind the results and what do I expect from it. The first thing I want to talk about is the null hypothesis. So what does it mean? It means that this hypothesis means that there is absolutely no connection between scholarship status and the motivation of students to become pedagogues in the future. Like it's not connected at all. But the research hypothesis is that the students who possess state scholarships, they are less likely to become teachers in the future because like students who actually pay in order to learn like how to become a teacher, they are more likely to be teacher. Like that's the logical conclusion, but it's not always the case. So we will try to prove or disprove it. And the main focus will be on two specific questions from the survey. Are you currently studying in the with a state scholarship, or what is your opinion regarding the pedagogy field as your future profession? Okay, so first of all, I'd like to talk about the participants and which course they are studying in. As you can see in this graph, the sample consists mainly of third course students, which is 85%. That's a lot. And the third year and second year and the fourth year students, second and fourth year students are not a lot. They are not. There are not a lot of them, and for this reason, one of the study aims, which is like fourth one, to what extent the results change depending on the year the students are currently studying in, has been completely disregarded because of the lack of sample. Okay, next is the number of students with state scholarships and without. As we can see in this graph, about 74% of students they have scholarships and 26% of them they don't have. And this will play a major part in the future graphs and bars. Next is the number of students who have like a huge experience with teaching, a little experience with teaching, and no experience at all with teaching. Why did I include it? Because it's one of these factors that could also like one of these variables that could also affect the student's motivation to become a teacher because we know that like the more you do something, the more you understand it, and we want to see to what extent does it play the role in their motivation. As you can see, I also divided yes into two separate parts, like yes a little and yes a lot, because I believe there is a difference between people who like work full-time jobs as teachers, students, and students who just like do it as a hobby or just did it in the past, you know, like with their relatives or a couple of students. Okay, so next is the graph with the motivation levels. As we can see, the number one means that they all like the absence of motivation at all, like they'll never become a teacher in their life. And five means that they have very high levels of motivation, they'll definitely become a teacher in the future. And as we can see, the majority of students, they are either inclined towards becoming the teacher or they are neutral. They have neutral opinions about it. Okay, next. This graph is quite interesting because it correlates. It shows the correlation between various factors, and these factors are the blue line is the presence of state scholarships. In this case, one means that the students have scholarships, and zero means they don't. And the red line is their motivation levels. As we can see, about 30 people they are they have a positive opinion about becoming the pedagogy, about becoming pedagogues in the future. And out of these 30 people, only four of them don't have scholarships, which this consists of about 13% of students. This is about 50% of them. Okay, and next is the 21 students. They have completely neutral opinion. They have a neutral opinion about being a pedagogue. And out of these 25 students, we can see that 9 of them don't have scholarships. So we see that there is a huge contrast amount here because in the first case, students who want to be a pedagogues, about 13% of them don't have scholarship, and the students who still don't know or haven't decided, about 43% of them don't have scholarships. So this case, this graph completely disproves the research hypothesis that this paper had because but it shows us that the students who have scholarships, they are more likely to become teachers in the future. And this graph right here shows the teaching experience. So as we can see, the blue line is the opinion about the teaching career, and the red line is the teaching experience. 2 means that they have a lot of experience, 1 means they have a little experience, and 0 means that they have no experience at all. And we can see that students who have a lot of experience with teaching, there are 9 of them. All of them, absolutely all of them, has a positive opinion about pedagogy as their future career field. And means that I'll show you later what it means, but I'll like just to mention that 1 and 0, they are divided too equally, and it's impossible to make any valid predictions or conclusions out of them. Only like people with a lot of teaching experience can be made. Okay, so discussions and conclusions. So this research proved that completely disproved both null hypothesis and research hypothesis, because the gap the gaps between scholarship and non-scholarship students when it comes to motivation were completely big, and scholarships positively affect students' pedagogic career choice desires. So like students with scholarships, they are more likely to become students in the future, and lack of scholarship inclines students towards neutral or negative attitudes, because we have seen that about 40% of students who don't have scholarships, they have either neutral or negative opinion towards this. And there are limitations to this research, huge limitations. These limitations include the lack of sample, and the questions in the survey weren't as clear as possible. Like there could have been there in the future, there should be like a bigger sample and more accurate questions in the survey. And the proper amount of teaching experience has a positive effect on students' motivation to continue in the same field of profession. So that means that if we provide students with scholarships and give them plenty of opportunities to practice and use it, then it will have a positive effect on their motivation. Okay, the same can be said about students with little or no teaching experience, because of the lack of like gaps, and the information wasn't as clear. And this data can have a variety of real life applications. Yes, so governments can use it to provide further scholarships for students and increase stipends, and also give us a lot of practice opportunities. And study conducted by Rubin and Rosser contradicts the study's results. So Rubin and Rosser, they showed that athletic students, they showed that students without state scholarships, they were like more motivated. And this completely contradicts our studies, whereas the research done by Omeji Nabugu in Enugu State Universities, it supports it. Like, and if the study was conducted with a huge sample size, proper tools, and modern data collection methods, then a lot of useful information could be obtained from it. So this is for the further references. And about this literature review, I believe that each of them is correct on their own way. Each of them has their own gaps and lack of sample or proper tools. And I believe there is still a lot of to study there. Here is the full version of my research. I will link both this research and this presentation in the comments below, in the description below. Please check it out, and goodbye.